Did you want to talk about Syria next?
Oh yes, a little bit, absolutely. No, the most recent interesting development is you have this Kurdish town on the border with Turkey called Kobani.
Yeah, they're getting slammed, aren't they?
It's a very strategic town. It sort of is the gateway to all the little. There's a little strip of eastern Syria that essentially is populated by Kurdish towns and villages, and into northern Iraq, and where Kurdistan would be in northern Iraq. And basically, Assad sort of cut a deal and sort of didn't attack them, thinking, okay, well, the Kurds will control that. It'll keep it out of the hands of the rebels, and then we'll sort of be able to have a buffer, and you wouldn't have to worry about that front. But as ISIS has actually gotten stronger and started attacking these towns, now they're under threat. And recently we started the whole campaign saving the Yazidis, which is another ethnic group. That was in northern Iraq, but now the Kurds are under pressure, and the airstrikes, once they get into the actual cities and towns themselves, is less effective because you can't distinguish. Okay, well, who's a Kurdish
and who's ISIS
person and who's ISIS? You really
it gets messy.
And you don't want, and also there are civilians in the area, so it becomes harder to actually bomb legitimate targets. And essentially, the more interesting part is that Turkish foreign policy is a complete disaster for many reasons, and this is one of them. Because on the one hand,
this sort of sheds light on that. It sort of sheds light that Turkish doesn't have.
They don't know what
resources.
They're doing because the Turkey would be fine. Basically, they want Assad gone, and they have helped the rebels out, and sort of probably ignored the rise of ISIS. They won't admit that publicly. Joe Biden called them out on that and quickly had to apologize for that. But basically, they turned a blind eye. And their problem is they have their own Kurdish problems, so they don't really want to help the Kurds, especially if they think there's this group, one of the groups that U.S. and Turkey considers a terrorist organization, is actually helping to defend Kobani. So the Turks don't want it to fall, but they also don't really want to help the Kurds either. But I think they're kind of, they voted, their parliament voted to approve military force, so they can go in any time. But their problem is, I think the longer they wait, and if the town actually falls, it would cause greater friction with the Kurds than if they actually help them. Then Turkey could be a reliable partner, and then Kurdistan could potentially actually have a state that wouldn't be antithetical to Turkey's interests. But I think if they sit back and do nothing, it makes them look ridiculous, because they essentially want Assad gone. They want a no-fly zone. They want to support moderate rebels,
but they're not willing to do anything.
Yeah. And they're afraid to do it alone, and which is a problem. But they realize the world is not going to help them, and part of it is also a little bit.
But isn't that what the U.S. wants the world to help them? Right. We don't want to go at it alone, right?
We would want them to help, but part of the issue too is on some level there was a rupture with Turkey when the 2003 invasion of Iraq.